always
So
help.
those who can, please, yeah.
Yeah, if possible, just do come on video.
Thanks.
Can you all see my screen? Okay. All right. So, like Abhijit said, this is about a tool called Positive Memories Tool. And thanks to Abhijit for being so persistent in getting me to do this presentation. I'm super thrilled, at the same time super nervous to be presenting after really a long gap of being in touch with TA theory. So I'm going to start off and let's dive in. So you can either unmute and answer, or you can put it on the chat box, and maybe Abhijit or Nisha can help me if I'm not able to read it. What is a script? Let's start with that. And I'm sure all of you are at different levels of understanding of TA, which is an ocean. So it'll be good to start from here. What is a script according to what you have experienced?
Something that dictates how we'll respond to a certain event, which is based on our past and the messages that we have formed from past events when we are not fully capable of understanding stuff, but it's not fully rooted in the present. So that could be called a scripted response.
Thank you, Vijay. So something to do with rooted in the past and also how we react to certain situations, and it's unconscious. Those are the keywords that I hear. Anybody else?
Some decisions that we took early on in childhood, which is a route map for the rest of our lives.
Right. Early decisions route map. I think, Binu, you beautifully summarized it.
I take it as the early impressions which are embedded in the mind of a child.
Okay. Early impressions.
Maybe between 1 to 7.
Early
impressions, interpretations, judgments, everything before knowing what it is really. But it's the kind of blueprint that keeps guiding that individual, no matter which age he or she finds themselves.
Absolutely.
So that is the script I understand.
Absolutely, Sundar. Thank you. Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing from you is it is a blueprint and it is formed at an early age, even before 7 years. And again, going back to what some of you said, it's unconscious. And most of these things are picked up based on our experiences, early experiences. Anybody else wants to take a shot at it?
We have on the chat Jasmine Dua, who said unconscious life plan developed during early childhood.
Okay, absolutely. Great. So I think that's a good start to understanding what script is. Going back to Eric Burns' definition of script, it's a life plan based on decisions made in childhood, reinforced by parents, justified by subsequent events, and culminating in a chosen alternative. So with that, I'm going to start off by asking this question to all of you, and we're going to start with a breakout room discussion. And this is going to be really quick, 5 to 7 minutes. It's okay. Before that, can I have a show of hands on how many of you have done the script interview process or your script process? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see 1, 2.
So Charu, sorry, this is Deepa here. May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I did my script, the script workshop many years ago. So are you referring to the set of questions that, that are asked to
Exactly.
figure out your script? Okay, when
Yes.
you say script interview.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Okay.
Nisha, can I request you to start the breakout room? Since we are a small group, maybe we'll take 5 minutes. And for those of you who have not done a script workshop or who have not experienced the script interview process, it's fine. Maybe you will have one or two people in the group who have experienced it. Just a quick discussion on what was that process like and what stood out for you about that process. So let's take about 5 minutes to discuss that and come back. Nisha, let me know when everybody's back.
So, Charu. They have about 60 seconds to come back.
Okay.
Everyone's back, Charu.
Okay, thank you, Nisha. So welcome back. Can I hear from some of you? What was your experience and what stood out as insights? You can either put it in the chat or unmute and share.
So I could go. When I reflected upon that experience, what stood out for me was a lot of, for me, negative messages or injunctions, attributions came alive during that process. The restricting part of the script. So, though the questions were not necessarily directing me to search for the negative memories, probably I ended up doing that much more than the positive ones.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Abhijit. So more negative emotions stood out. What about the others?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I mean, in part of the foundation course, the script matrix, what I realized is like being the eldest child in the house, like my father also was calling me Akka. So I took the responsibility of being the eldest. So I
Okay.
didn't live most of my childhood as a child,
Hmm.
which was like I was very proud of. At the age of 40, I found it as a dysfunctional.
Okay, so when you look back, you kind of have a regret about it, but I think the early experience for you is being the responsible one
Yeah.
beyond your age. Thanks for
Yeah, that was giving me a proud feeling, but now it is like, oh, how it is dysfunctional now.
okay. Thanks for sharing that, Deepa.
Yeah,
Shall-
thanks.
I just want to share, you know, I'm the youngest in the family, just as Deepa was sharing, just the other way around. You know, being the youngest, I had my own, you know, repression or suppressions or voice being not heard, you know. I mean, nobody paid too much attention to what I was saying because they always felt, my brother felt, you know, he's a very young kid and what he knows. So this was something I had to work against. And you know, I'm amazed by the you know, definition of script and its existence. Even now, I'm you know fascinated by trying to become independent of it as much as possible. But still, it is holding its way on me. So possibly, I'll take some cues from you guys how to overcome it.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Sundar. So what I'm hearing is that it still has a really strong grip on you. And in contrast to what Deepa shared, you are the youngest child, but you still um, experienced your voice being suppressed and discounted that you were the younger one. Okay. So the grass does seem greener on the other side from what you both are sharing. What about the others?
Well, I
I
could
can-
go next.
Yeah.
So I'm the youngest too, but I had a different experience. I was the more pampered, and so I actually struggled to find out what were the problems in the script, because the way I remembered was a childhood which was very happy, loved, and all of that. So and none of those were interjections. And when these questions were asked, I was struggling to find out where was it set specifically. Yet I was a shy child, so it shouldn't have been like that. But I don't know. So I struggled with that, trying to find out what were the negatives. I remembered it very positively.
Thank you for sharing that, Papya. And I'm going to share a story which maybe you will resonate with based on my own experience with the script process. What about others?
Yeah, and I was just saying that I think just the process of identifying, or articulating those memories itself was sort of emotional. There was something, very intense about it. And the interesting thing is, over time, I realized how the same drivers, so to say, that I discovered during the script workshop were at once, some things that limited me, but at the same time were my strengths as well, depending on how, they played out in different situations.
Okay.
So I have a lot of things to be thankful for those drivers in life, but they also sort of restrict me in terms of how much I would, take risks, or how I would explore newer, explore boundaries and newer things. So it's I think the whole discovery process is one of how do you hold on to those strengths and yet sort of get past the limitations.
Thank you, Deepa. So you're talking about the coexistence of both the strengths and some of the things that's holding you back. It reminds me of this beautiful visual. I think it was in Julie Hay's article, where there's these, I think, strings which is pulling us down, which is not seen, and then there's balloons which is kind of lifting us high. So it can act as personality styles when used as strengths, but the same thing can be drivers and limiting sometimes in situations. Jasmine, I think you had raised your hand earlier.
I think what I was about to share just resonates a lot with what Deepa just said. For me also, the interview process, there's a lot of cognitive awareness because I'd been in therapy. I'm a therapist myself. Generally, just there was so much awareness about everything that was being discovered or talked about in the interview process. And yet, what was, I think, significant for me was that the emotional impact and the sinking on a feeling level was still a very raw and vulnerable experience for me. I remember because this was me sitting with a stranger and her asking me questions and delving so much deeper. A stranger with whom I won't have a relationship after the interview process ended. Like with a therapist, it's different, and a therapist doesn't sit and ask questions like she was doing. So yeah, just I remember the kind of emotions that came out, even though I was sitting there, and was in touch with my vulnerability, even though I was speaking to a stranger. So that was quite significant for me.
Thank you for sharing. And it's so true, right? Like you end up sharing your entire list of vulnerable emotions with someone, most possibly a batchmate or a stranger, which you wouldn't have probably shared or reflected with others. Yeah. Anybody else before we could move to the next part? All right. Great. Thank you for sharing this. I think this was really significant to understand how you all experience the script interview process. Before I share about how it all started, this process of what made me think about writing this article or exploring this path of positive memories. and as a tool, and which can be used in the script process. So I'm going to actually refer to my article while I'm sharing this. So this was so I've done foundational year and a couple of advanced year with Aruna and Surya, and this was one the final year, and we were all having a discussion. So this is actually the earlier years. The final year was when the actual discussion happened around this. But this was, I had the opportunity of experiencing this whole script process as an observer, as a therapist, as a client. And I was really moved, like most of you said, by the potency of it, on how it has the capacity to help clients access some of the deepest emotions experienced in early childhood, be it sadness, be it shame, anger, and also one of you said intensity, right? In such overpowering intensity. And as part of the group process, one day, one of the questions for me was, when you were punished as a child, was it mild or severe? And what stood out to you about this punishment? And I reflected on it and I said, actually, I don't remember being punished as a child. And if there was something which was not working well, I only remember my parents sitting down and talking to me and explaining what was not okay. But I don't remember being punished at all. And as I said that, I was filled with a lot of gratitude for my parents. And I also got in touch with the positive impact that my parents had on me, on my life. So this kind of made me think about, okay, so like most of you said, right, during the script process, a lot of um, not so positive, I don't know if it's negative, but very deep, painful emotions really stand out, and you become vulnerable, and you kind of access that, and you think about the kind of impact your childhood, your parent, and all of that would have, or your caregivers would have had on you. And this particular instance made me think about some of the positive assumptions of TA, like the foundational assumptions of TA on how people are okay. This whole I'm okay, you're okay, and everybody's okay. And that everybody can think and decide for themselves and change if they really want to. And this got me really curious. And I wanted to explore script as a functional, normal, necessary tool, and also look at what are some of the positive aspects of the script, and are there things that we want to recognize, and is there a way to bring it into the whole script interview process to make it more wholesome. So that's how the journey started, with some kind of curiosity on why some of these questions trigger all of these really important emotions, but is there a way, is there something that we are discounting in this whole process, the positive aspects, like some of you said? So that's how it all got started. And I started reading many papers and articles about this on scripts, and what are the different kinds of research that people have done, what are different kinds of opinions that exist out there. And this really resonated with me. The goal of therapy or other forms of TA support is not to become script free. It is about becoming more autonomous, discovering and developing the resources and positive aspects of one's script. And I found this in the book Into TA. And I think it was that opening into a rabbit hole. So I remember spending months reading several articles, discussing with Aruna, discussing with several other experts. Deepak was the one who was guiding me when I started thinking about writing this as an article. I was fortunate to talk to Saru to get her thoughts on what it is, and she was really encouraging. So I think that's how it started. And I came across some of these really significant viewpoints which strengthen that whole discovery process. This one, which says we believe that we are all programmed and much of the programming is positive, and that we do well by hanging on to those positives. And as part of the script process, like some of you said, it feels like we're exclusively attending to the destructive elements of scripts. And the transactional analysis have suggested that some of those negative influences are stronger than the positive and sometimes outweigh them. And I felt, yeah, maybe. The positive constitute the foundation on which to build the new life, which does not have to be entirely new. And Jasmine, you spoke about drivers, right? Each driver has a strong positive component, which you exactly explained. Like there is this driver, which is it's your strength. At the same time, there are sometimes it can be limiting. So each driver does have a strong positive component. Enthusiasm, speed, amiability, endurance, excellence. So Petruska Clarkson has actually written an entire paper on that. And how a script is valuable as an organizing support structure, and it contributes to actualization, evolution of our innate potential. So I think some of these quotes and some of the works by stalwarts like Petruska Clarkson, Fenita English, Julie Hay, I think kind of strengthen this whole idea of, okay, maybe there is merit in actually looking at the positive aspects of script. And when I started researching about what exists out there, there were a lot of tools, but there was nothing which was comprehensive, looking only specific to the positive aspects of script. So, and then I think this also kind of it was a game changer for me when I looked at the autonomy matrix by Julie Hay. So can anybody tell me, and most of you may be familiar with this, what is the main difference that you observe when you look at this versus the script matrix? What stands out for you?
So the ego states of parents are at a level lower than the middle one, which is supposed to be the child's ego states. It's like supporting the child's all the ego states rather than suppressing the child's vices.
Absolutely, Abhijit. You have all the secret answers to my questions. What about others? Anything else that you observe?
The arrows are pointing upwards. I mean, in a script, it's the other way down. They
Absolutely.
come
I think
down.
that's exactly it. So this is a quote from Julie Hay. So what she talks about is how this actually helps to move people from a deterministic script. And she says that she developed this autonomy matrix, and she's interpreted it as how the notion that parents or caregivers want to support the children. So it kind of highlights the intent of the parents to support the children. It maybe some of the actions could have resulted in limiting beliefs and a lot of other destructions that we still carry on. And like I think Sundar said, it has still a very gripping effect on us. Having said that, what she points out is that this actually talks about the positive intent of the parents, and it is only to support their children to reach their highest potential and vices, like Abhijit said. And however much the parents and caregivers may be limited by their own scripts. So I think this was really the game changer in that whole research process of what I was trying to find. And these are the three main objectives that I started out with. Will recognizing the positives in one's life help in strengthening the adult? Will that be support to the wounded child? Because there's, as part of the script process, there are aspects of the wounded child you get in touch with. So are there some questions, some memories from the childhood which can be supportive to that part and which will probably help in the healing process? And can it also make the whole change process easier? Because sometimes all of this also creates some kind of stuckness. So by recognizing that there are limiting beliefs and there are these things that were extremely painful, which still has a gripping effect on me as an adult, and I'm trying to make this change. And by will recognizing that there are some of these positive aspects as well, which is helping me to be this functional adult today, will that recognition make the whole change process easier? So I think these are the three goals that I had in mind when I set out. And that's the positive memories discovery tool. So it is to access positive memories and to uncover some of those aspects which has helped in building resilience, which has helped in making us creative adults and shaping us as this functional, potent adult today. So despite all of those limitations, we are still operating as successful adults. So what is that which is driving us? And are there these positive memories and some of these questions, will it kind of uncover those aspects? I think that is the objective I set it out with. And what this tool has is a set of 50 questions. So if you can use it as self-reflection. You can use it if you're a practitioner, you can use it on your client, just like how you use the script analysis questionnaire. And you can also use just a set of questions based on what you're trying to work on with your client. And it could be, for example, looking at permissions that the client has. So you can actually choose a subset of these questions depending on what is the use case that you're working with. But the intent is to look at uncovering some of those positive aspects and create that recognition of strengths and resilience and creative capabilities that your childhood has contributed to. I'm going to take a pause and see if you have any questions before we move to the next part. Okay. So before we start exploring the tool, and in today's session, I think my goal, and I was discussing this with both Abhijit and Nisha, is to give you a glimpse of what this, what is the capability of this tool and what can it do. And I want you to experience it firsthand, but I also want to call out a few things. One is, like I said, I'm still student. So this is really a student's perspective in exploring this as an alternative way of looking at scripts. And this is not in any way to discount or minimize the pain of the past, because I think one of the goals of therapy is to discover that hidden, suppressed, painful parts of our childhood, which we usually don't talk about. And that's where the limiting beliefs come from. That's where some of the important script decisions come from, which we still carry it to the present. So it is not to discount any of that. It is to kind of create a little more awareness of the positive beliefs which may be coexisting, and some of the decisions which we may have made, which is probably empowering us today as an adult. So kind of becoming more aware of that. And it's also to look at strengths and permissions. In a lot of the work that we do in TA, I think strengths is something that we don't really look at for the most part. So really use this as an opportunity to deepen awareness of what are those strengths and what are those permissions that we have, which also becomes a tool to create hope in the process of change. Because sometimes when we look at all the limiting, I had this overwhelming feeling when I went through first set of questions, and it was this sense of hopelessness on, oh my God, what all have I made up my mind on, and what are the limiting beliefs that I'm carrying, which is having such a big impact on who I am as an adult today. And to kind of have that alternative view of hope that, yeah, but while that is there, there's also these positives that I'm carrying, which is empowering me. So how can I use that and leverage that to bring in that change? Okay, so here's the tool, and maybe you can take a screenshot, or I can probably look at sharing that in the breakout rooms. So like I said, the tool itself has more questions than this, but I've just picked 10 questions in the interest of time. And you have 25 minutes, and Nisha will put you in breakout rooms in pairs, because this will require that one-on-one time. And as much as possible, stick to 10 minutes per person, and you'll still have 5 minutes buffer time to explore these 10 questions. And maybe you can take 1 minute per question and see what comes up for you. So this is for you to experience the tool, and also to look at maybe also have that another hat if you are a therapist or a practitioner, to see what would it what kind of impact it will have if you use it with a client. So 10 questions, 25 minutes, maybe about 10, 12 minutes per person, and in pairs. So Nisha, you can start the breakout room. Any questions before we go into breakout rooms?
Charles, just one question. Is this for 20, 25 minutes or?
Yes, 25 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
So Charu, we jot down our answers and we share it with the partner, right, in the breakout room?
So each person takes turn in interviewing the other person. So the
Okay.
first 12 minutes, the first person asks these questions and the other person responds. And this next 12 minutes, you kind of repeat the process and you see what comes out.
Okay.
And MFC is mother, father, caregiver. I think that's the verbatim, the abbreviation that I've used in the last question.
So here we need to come up with the positive memories only. I mean, positive ones only, or like when I read the first question, it comes as a negative one.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, don't force yourself to come out with positive memories. Just allow the questions to flow and see what comes up for you. I think that's the intent.
I'm opening the breakout rooms.
Sure.
Okay.
Nisha, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Any feedback, Nisha? Is it going okay?
Just a second.
Nobody
Okay.
came to my room.
Oh,
There is someone named Papia waiting in your room.
Okay, how do I get back to the breakout room?
Just a second.
Okay, got it.
Oh no, one second, one second. Okay, now you can, yeah.
Whoa, what happened there?
I just moved you to room 3.
Hello, I've not been assigned anybody in my room.
Okay.
I was alone.
The one in your room, actually. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
moving both of you all to room 6 now.
Yeah.
Okay. I've assigned both of you all room 6.
Yeah, Nisha.
Yes, Charu. I'll just pause.
Do they get buffer after the breakout room ends?
60 seconds, Charu. Like
Okay.
within 60 seconds, everyone will be back.
Okay.
I think everyone's here.
Yeah.
Happy to see smile faces.
So, Charu, you will be sharing this presentation, and also share it with all, right? So,
Yes.
these questions, anyways, would be available for people to then make a reference, and also in any way that article is available with the entire tool for
Yes.
for us. Okay, great.
That's right, Abhijit. And I also want to make a correction. I said 50 questions. It's actually 35.
Sure.
But yes, the article has all the questions and all the details that we just discussed, and I'll be sharing the presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
How would you be doing it? Sending it by email or putting it on the chat over here?
We'll
Abhijit.
send across an email to you.
Yeah, I think that would be lovely, Abhijit.
Okay.
We can send an email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Excellent.
Great. So what did you discover? How was it? How was the process for you? What were some of the insights and what did you discover? Maybe we can go one pair at a time. Jasmine and Archana, you came back first, so maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. I think as I was even talking to Archana in the last few minutes that we had, for me it was just so, it instantly felt very refreshing to have not just talk about the memory, but to be able to visualize it, to be able to feel how I felt when I was really in time living that memory. Because so much of it is, again, childhood, so deeply rooted and so vivid in our minds. So to get in touch with, because again, just because of our work, also, I'm constantly talking so much about the pains and the not niceness of people's lives that it's hard for me also to get back in touch with so much that has been good in my life, because that can also shape the lens with which I'm looking at somebody's life story. Even though even during training and all, we're taught so much about the importance of strength and creating hope, but for some reason it doesn't just naturally flow. I will like think more about it to understand how to bridge that gap even when I'm doing my work with clients, but to experience it firsthand myself, just simple questions, very straightforward about positive, invoking positive memories has been quite empowering. And I think I hope to take this into my work also. So thank you for letting us experience this.
Thank you. Thanks for that feedback. And I like how you described it as feel how I felt. It was refreshing to feel how I felt. And strength, hope, empowering, these are the words that I'm hearing. What about you, Archana?
Yes. I did share both positive and negative experiences, but towards the end, what we realized, me and Jasmine, is that like our memories are not just memories, like especially the positive ones. It's like part of who we are. Like we have carried it within us, and it definitely reflects in today's life, like how we act and how we behave. So yeah, would want to reinforce those memories. And yeah, it was really good. Like when I was sharing, especially one question related to the playtime. So I really went back there and I could see that memory so fresh. So yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you for the activity.
Thank you, Archana. So reinforcing is what I'm hearing. What about the others?
Okay, I can go. So I was with Papia, and she shared first, and my thoughts were that I've had an awful childhood, and as compared to her parents were probably a lot more understanding. But yeah, I don't know, for some reason, I don't remember, I mean, or rather, all those negative things are not in the forefront. It's more of the positive things. Maybe it is the years of being in this field or therapy or any of that. But yeah, the realization that actually at the end of the day, maybe my childhood was not so good, but I still love my parents to bits. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Bino. I think I love the way you're summarizing it, saying while the childhood was awful, you still feel gratitude for your parents. I think that's what stood out for you. Okay.
Yeah. So same. I think we had just opposite stories, but maybe grew up around the same time. So the value system was similar, studies and do well for yourself. But the way it was brought out, and often in my classes, I've realized that we need to bring up sad stories, and I've been wanting to know, what if you don't have too many sad stories? Why don't we celebrate? Because I struggle to look for problems when I think I had a good childhood, in the sense that yeah, I mean, if I look at it totally, I would say there weren't too many. There were funny parts, and I felt loved and valued. So I was happy doing it. It brought a lot of smiles while recalling those memories.
Thank you. Yeah, so celebrating is what stood out.
Yeah, I think I was sharing with Deepa, and it was very, what I would say, very insightful, so it was, I was able to share my childhood. And like, some of, like Binu was saying, I too had a childhood which was not very, very rosy or something, it had its, like I was sharing with Deepa, there was a lot of financial issues, and, there was always an element of insecurity built into the childhood in myself. So I could find she also had shared her, So it was wonderful in a way we could share each other's past. I mean, especially going about the childhood ideas. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sundar.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah. With the script, I had negative answers only. Yeah, with these questionnaires, I could come up with two most positive aspects of it. Like, I was very upset with my father. He didn't see me or he didn't help me. But with this questionnaire, and when Sundar was sharing his thing, like, I realized my father did things in his own way. Like, maybe literally he didn't say, but with his actions, like, he tried to help me, he tried to care me. That I didn't see. I was always looking for verbal. And now also, like, I don't do verbally. I show it with the actions.
Great. So you were able to relate to the non-verbal
cues that, yeah.
Yeah, and care and the intent from where it came. Thank you.
Yeah. And when we, as a children, like, we were playing in the temple, and now also temple, like, I don't feel like worshipping or praying. I just feel myself as a child. And my son also plays in the puja room. So, I mean, that memory was like hidden. It had not come out. It came today.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I see you smiling as you say that. Okay, anybody else?
Charu, so thanks for giving me those questions, even though I was not part of the group. So what I realized is that there's one angle that I had never explored earlier with regard to script, and it's about the pursuit of knowledge. So I've realized that I was rewarded a lot for reading things, asking questions. So when I asked my father some questions, he didn't have the answers, but he appreciated me. And it is only after reading this question I kind of it occurred to me that I had been appreciated for that. So I think I still carry that with me, and even though asking those questions may not be productive or business bring business value, I still have that thing. So now after looking at these questions, I know where that could possibly come from. So that's like a new discovery for me.
Thank you for sharing that, Vijay. I think asking question is a really great strength as a coach, as a therapist, as anybody who is a curious person. So I think that's great that you're able to recognize that. Anybody else? Abhijit, I think there's a couple of them who have not heard from.
Yeah, so I could quickly go when I was sharing with Pragya. If sorry, I forgot to note down your name. She's appearing as Techno Camon on the screen, but I hope I have pronounced her name correctly. One thing which came out was there were many other people apart from my parents who also had a positive influence, and those memories also came up because these questions allowed me to also look into variety of activities, not just what was happening between me and my parents. So that was very, very interesting for me, and never thought about those aspects. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think in the first round of reflection, when I shared this tool with the rest of with the fellow trainees, I think one person came back with this insight very similar to yours, saying, I didn't really get anything from both my parents, and it was really awful. But I had an aunt who was so inspiring and who stood out as a caregiver. And there were so many aspects that I had discounted that I had got from her, which also shaped my childhood. So I think what you shared kind of took me back there. So thank you so much for sharing your reflections. I'm going to bring back the presentation for a bit. So I think couple of things, if you're using this as a practitioner, it is possible that some of them, some clients may not have positive memories. And like Binu was sharing, right? It actually may make them realize that, oh my God, my childhood was really so awful. And and if you're working with a fairly new client, there are chances that they may plunge further into despair when you ask some of these questions. And when I was discussing about, oh my God, is that okay? I got this really insightful response from Aruna. I remember this, and I put that as a caveat in the article as well, that even that can be an useful outcome, because that will help the client and the therapist to understand what is that intensity of the pain, where is it coming from, what is that bringing up, and how can that be used to explore that pain in a sensitive way. And the second caveat is that some of them may be very scared of painful feelings. And, this can be used as, and they could be in denial. And we've seen cases like that as practitioners, right? Where it's difficult to explore painful emotions, and hence you are almost using it as a joy as a racket, or humor as a racket, or laughter as a racket. So, even that can happen where you maximize the positive memories and you minimize the limiting aspects of the script. So I think that's where the therapist's role also comes into play, to pay careful attention to non-verbals and to see how can these questions be used and when to be used. So if there are things that need to be explored, if there are painful emotions which needs to be explored, and if the client is in denial, this may not be the best tool to use at that point. And also sometimes this can also trigger internal parent ego state, and how the child is showing adaptation. So, the kind of responses may not completely be in the adult state. So even that is something that the therapist may have to pay attention to. So these are some of the caveats. And as and when you use this tool, if there are things that you come to know, I think I would love to hear feedback And many people ask, okay, what is next? What's next with this tool? So I think here are, I'll come to this in a bit. So, but I think a couple of things is experiments. I think that's the only way that we will know about whether this is effective or not. How can you as practitioners take this to your clients and to take this to your workshops and things like that to see if it can be used and experiment and see what comes out of it, make tweaks, make adjustments, add, delete, etc., so that it can be used in the context that you want to use it in. And also to um, do a little bit of research. I think that's where my interest is, to see if this can be used in healing process to uncover positive aspects of childhood, like you all did right now. If it can be used as a tool in group therapy, if it can be used as a silent reflection exercise, like how Vijay did, because he did not have a partner to work with in the breakout room. He used it as a silent reflection and something came up for him. To look at permissions and can it be used in conjunction with the script analysis questionnaire itself, and to look at strengths, as some of you already spoke about, and also maybe as an alternate treatment plan, which focuses on health rather than pathology, based on the readiness of the client. So I would be very curious to hear from you on where else do you think could this be used? But I'm also going to quickly go back to some of the learnings from using this tool. I used it on 12 of the fellow trainees, and 80% of them came back describing their experiences as hope. They got closure, they got a balanced view. It helped them to access some of those forgotten positive memories. And almost all of them used positive words to describe their experience, like it was healing, fulfilling, energizing, etc. And they also found renewed sense of empathy for the choices that their parents had made. Goes back to that autonomy matrix that we saw, the empathy on the intent of the parents. And one person actually came back saying it actually triggered sadness. And because I couldn't really tap into any of those positive memories. And another person came back saying it did not trigger anything new for me, which I didn't know. So all kinds of possibilities, but mostly you will see that there is a possibility of getting in touch with some of these positive memories. And I can share this in the presentation on what are the other feedback verbatims that I got. But I'll come back to this question, and I know we have just 3 more minutes to go. So would love to know your thoughts on where else you think we can use this.
So Charu, while going through this presentation and thinking through one thought is coming to me is when we tap into the positive memories or even attitudes that we may have absorbed in us, it can become a very valuable information, and we can then encourage clients as to how they can leverage upon that positive attitude that they have developed. Or it could have also a memory of a person which can probably used as a role model then. Uh, uh, and it may have been forgotten because the negative role models might have been remembered. And that's where I thought tapping into positive role model could also be used.
I love that. Thank you, Abhijit. Like the one that you said, right? Somebody you had
Yeah,
forgotten, and
yeah,
just tap. Suddenly you have a new resource that you can tap.
yeah. And it's really like saying that, okay, I have absorbed something from that person, which is a nurturing voice. While I have forgotten that nurturing voice, can I tap into that now to kind of balance my criticizing voice, let's say.
Sure. Thank you for saying that. Any other ideas? I see Deepa raised her hand.
Yeah, I think even outside the TA sort of world, in the sense that if you just look at the corporate world, nowadays in the remote, context, teams sort of struggle to get to know each other, right? And to build a sense of connectedness that is beyond just task-oriented transactions. You know, and then teams do get together, this would be, I think, a valuable tool to just go around and, you know, share with each other. So they don't have to be exactly these, you know, questions, but like they can be, if, you know, some seem too intense, then they could be lightened up a bit. But many of them would be really valuable to just share with each other. And I think just being able to share this, doing a round with each other would just, I think, change the way, you know each other. So I think it would be helpful to build connectedness as well in a team.
Thank you for sharing that, Deepa. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I had never thought of this outside the context of therapy and counseling. So you bring a good point on if you can create a lighter version of this, it can help in increasing personal connection. Binu?
I mean, I just realized this as I was listening to you and also doing the questionnaire. Like in my case, I feel that you also are able to recognize your own growth. You know, when you know what happened way back then and what you are today, so it helps to measure your own growth or be aware of your own growth.
Be aware of your own growth. Yeah. Like a reflection tool to understand how far you've traveled, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the things that I had mentioned in the paper as well, as part of the experiment, to use it on people who have revisited the script questionnaire multiple times and who have uncovered lots of layers within that, and to see what these questions trigger. And if it's any different or any new aspects gets uncovered as part of that. So thank you for that, Binu. Papia?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could use it as for mentoring. I mean, I teach college students, and often, you know, a lot of negative narratives. I mean, they have a lot of problems about their parents and a lot of complaints. It's just one-sided. And I wondered if we could use this to balance the narrative. After all, they are in college, somebody sending them, providing for them, but I just find that I find a lot of negativity around. So could this be used to, you know, in mentoring perhaps to make a more balanced judgment about where they are, about their parents?
Wonderful. It's like music to my ears. I'm so excited with all of these possibilities. Thank you. Any last comments before we close? I think Gonzalez.
Yeah. If I may, I think the session, the breakout room with Deepa Rao was very energizing. At least for me, I speak for myself. And there's a hell of a lot that one can recall when questions are posed. The thought that goes through my mind is exactly along the lines of what Deepa was talking about. And I see some of these questions as excellent icebreakers, especially when you are what should I say, running a training group, and everyone stares at the other like as if did I have to be here? And use this as an icebreaker. Select the questions, of course, use it as icebreakers, because one of the common icebreakers is two talking to each other and each one introducing the other. That's a very common icebreaker. I think you can move one or two steps ahead by helping them to get to know each other a lot better. And I think the connectedness will remain once the program is over, which is very important from the point of view of team building, and also in terms of building a more cohesive corporate world you live in.
Thank you. I think that's a great point you bring out. It also it'll also help building trust, right? Because when you share such intimate aspects of your childhood, it instantly brings that connect with the person, which is beyond transaction level. So that's a great point. Great. I know we are at time, so I'm going to bring us to a closure. Going back to Eric Byrne, I think he made this quote on "We are born princesses, and civilizing process makes us frogs." And when I was looking at reflections from the people who took this survey and they were sharing their experiences, one of my batchmate actually said this, and it's really stayed with me. She said, "This experience made me realize that I'm not fully a frog. I'll work on my half a frog while I will also rejoice that I'm half a princess." So I'm going to leave you all with that thought that, the part of the frog and the part of the princess can actually coexist. And maybe the strengths and the positive aspects can be leveraged to work on the other things which are limiting. So thank you so much for being a wonderful interactive audience. I'm so full of gratitude for sharing all your insights with me. Hopefully this was useful for you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Charu.
so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much,
much.
everyone. We will again
Thank
have
you, everyone.
sessions like this, and
Yes,
let's
yes.
see you again. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
I have
Abhijit.
taken your nice nap, so it's with me. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you,
I was
Charu.
wondering when you would ask for that.
I just did it
Wonderful.
silently when all of you were
Excellent,
smiling anyways.
excellent.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye. Good.
Bye. Charu, thanks a
Bye.
lot. It was a wonderful evening with you. I have not missed a single TA Thursday